Hi, it's 1010 the Navigator, and today I just want to talk a little bit about the moon. Again, some interesting things that I've found, and I just wanted to discuss it a little bit. So, I was driving past the Cancer Institute, and I thought to myself, well, that's really interesting that they would call it cancer. And the only reason why I was really thinking about that is because the zodiac sign, which is for Cancer, what I'm talking about is in astrology. There are 12 zodiacs, and they were created by the Babylonians in 1894. So, astrology is the study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs and the natural world. All right, so it got me to thinking, well, how is Cancer, the constellation, related to cancer, the disease? So I looked up the word or the origin of the word for cancer. So in Greek, these words refer to a crab, most likely applied to the disease because the finger-like spreading projections from a cancer called to mind the shape of a crab. All right, so around 400 BC, supposedly Hippocrates is said to have named masses of cancerous cells karkinos, Greek for crab. So that was 400 BC. And sorry, I lost my spot. Science and medical historian Howard Markel discusses a few hypotheses on why Hippocrates named the disease after a crab and how well cancer was understood in the ancient world. Now, the zodiacs were created prior to the naming of Cancer. And in the zodiac sign for Cancer, it's the crustacean or the crab. So I got to thinking about the two and how they correlate with each other. So we can see that in astrology, the constellation was called Cancer, all right, and it's a crab. And then Hippocrates later on said that Cancer looks crab-like, So I thought to myself, well, that's still interesting. And I'm going to tell you why. Because in the zodiac, Cancer rules the moon. And Cancer in the zodiac, or I should say the moon, like if you were to go to your birth chart and you would put in your date of birth and your time of birth and where you were born, it would pull up a chart and tell you what constellations were in particular planets at the time you were born. Like the sun was in Libra during my date of birth, and my moon was in Cancer. All right. And Cancer rules not Cancer, but the moon rules the emotions. And we can see that. So Cancer rules the moon. It is a part of its makeup, which deals with emotions and things of that nature. Now, as you know, and you follow my channel, I believe and have evidence that show that the moon is potentially extraterrestrial and it doesn't belong here. Now, we can trace sun worship back as far as, I think it's like the 1500s, but I did create a video that talks about it. It's called The Moon is Extraterrestrial. And then moon worship came later. So what I'm trying to say in this video also is this is another point to the fact that the moon was brought here. It affects people's emotions, and we can see that. There's research that's been done on that. It's a full moon. People are going crazy because the mind or the brain is made up mostly of water, and the moon controls the tides. And humans' bodies have a high content or percentage of water. So that makes you susceptible to the moon and its phases, right? So we can also see that it affects women's menstrual cycles as well. There's the cycle of the woman, which is the menstrual cycle, and there's the cycle or phases of the moon, which affect women as well. And I have stated previously that probably prior to the moon being here, women's cycles were not as aggressive. They were normal. If women did not have modern day, modern day conveniences, we would not be able to function. We wouldn't, and I can speak as this being a fact. So the moon gives off some type of radiation or some type of control measures. Now, the sun can give people skin cancer, which is external. But I am on the track of seeing evidence that would perpetuate the fact that the moon could cause internal cancer. And I'm talking about the disease kind. Because if the moon exhibits radiation or has some type of effect on this planet, and it has the ability to control water and elements inside of bodies, and we can say bodies of water, we can say bodies of people, you're going to see that. So if someone takes in a lot of chemicals and their body consists of a lot of water, there's a good chance that your body is going to be manipulated, that water, that liquid, whatever's inside of you, and it is going to cause problems inside of your body and form cancer. Because again, in the zodiac, the moon is ruled by Cancer. Now, some people say this is Pisces, but whatever. It's the moon is ruled by Cancer because Radex was telling me that Cancer is the most emotional of the zodiacs, and that makes the most sense. Now, I don't have any evidence of that, but maybe that's just personal experience. But I want to show you that this particular card, this is the original Rider-Waite deck for tarot cards. All right. Now, zodiacs and tarot cards go hand in hand with each other. And by the way, tarot cards were introduced by the Jupiters. I just want to say that. This divination, these cards. All right. Because a lot of the symbolism that's used in the tarot card can correlate with their language. And you can look that up and see it yourself. Aleph, Tef, all that is correlated with different signs and different planetary alignments. All right. So if you look at this picture, you can see the moon inside of the sun. And you can see the creatures of this planet not so happy with the moon. That's what I get. It makes them do unnatural things. Makes lobsters want to come out the water. I mean, this is supposed to be, it would make more sense if it was a crab, but I think it's just crustaceans in general. Now, what I've expressed in a previous video is that crustaceans, crabs, lobsters, things of that nature, they're blue-blooded. And it is forbidden for the Jupiters to eat them because they are original to this planet. Now, you could say, yeah, they're bottom feeders, they're bottom dwellers, but that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's the fact that the Jupiters have to do their best to keep their blood, from getting tainted. And that's how they view it. And when you ingest certain things, and this is a scientific fact, you're taking in the DNA of whatever it is that you're eating. All right, so you can look and you can see that the moon is inside of the sun, which I find to be interesting because I talked to certain people and I said, well, mostly rat about this. And it's odd that the sun and the moon are out at the same time. Now, the moon, from what we've been told, projects the sunlight, right? But my understanding is the moon does not need the sun to operate at all, to provide light. It's its own, it provides its own light because the moon wasn't always here. Now, whatever it is, the light that the moon produces is not healthy to the people here. We think, we spend so much time like, oh, you got to stay out of the sun. You know, it's unhealthy for you to be out in the sun. And that could very well be true. But I would like to pose this opinion and this viewpoint. When the moon and the sun are out together, take care to wear extra precaution, like extra clothing, because it could be the mixture of the sun's light with the moon's light that causes skin cancer. This is just, you know, my opinion. I'm not a doctor. Because here's the interesting thing. Logically, we know if we stand out in the sun, we're going to get a sunburn, you know, if you have that ability or not. You're going to get the sun. If you stand under a tree, you're going to be shaded and protected from the sun. Yes? So when the moon is out at night and you go to stand under a tree, it's warmer under that tree than it is in the moonlight. So the tree is still protecting you, in essence, from the moon, but it's the radiation factor causes the tree to, you know, act opposite because the sun is the life bringer. All right. And everything flourishes better in the sun, not in the moon. Now, the moon is extraterrestrial. And I know there's multiple videos out there that say that the moon, you know, is some type of Death Star, it's a satellite, it's this, it could be all, it could be that, a combination of things. So if it's some type of, you know, foreign body, let's talk about this. There was a time when people here on this planet in power wanted to bomb the moon. And that's, well, I want to say it's basic knowledge, but I always thought to myself, why would you want to bomb the moon? But it makes sense, especially if the moon is an enemy to this planet. Now, in 1972, they went to the moon and they never went back. There's a lot of different opinions on what it could be, but what I'm saying is that it is possible that the moon and the radiation or whatever this light that it emanates on this planet causes internal cancer in people, animals, whatever. And I'm not negating that food can't cause cancer and other things can't, you know, genetically you can't have cancer. But if the moon wasn't here, chances are a lot of people probably wouldn't be dying from cancer because the water in their bodies would not be manipulated by this celestial being. Okay. So that is my hypothesis and my thoughts on the moon. and some more interesting information. I'm sure there's a lot of animals that are affected by the moon as well. So that's pretty much what I have for today. I think I covered everything, but I would take some time to really, like, if you look at this picture, you see the moon inside the sun, and then you see these little dots, the rays of sun, you know, adding to its, magnifying its power or whatever. So my suggestion is possibly, if you have time, you know, and you notice that the sun is out with the moon, take extra care of yourself that day and pay attention to like what you're doing, how you're feeling, how you perceive others that day as well. And I want to see if the correlation between the two working together. And this is during the day and also at night. Like if the moon is out at night in full force, don't go outside either. And this is what I'm going to try and not do. I'm going to stay inside, and I'm going to treat the moon the same way I would similar to the sun, because the moon is probably a lot more dangerous to us than we realize, and to our body and our chemistry. All right. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.